Hello and welcome to Leading Edge, a monthly cricket review programme where I, Sam Collinson, talk about cricket things. With me is my guest, Daniel J. Sudarsan.
Hi.
Hi Dan, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again, Sam.
So I thought we could start off by talking about the Ashes, as we're both England fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a tough winter, wasn't it?
It was a very tough winter.
Winter of discontent.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Did you follow much of it?
Yeah, I did. I did watch it quite keenly at the start.
Yeah.
And then more as a duty by the end, I suppose.
I managed one full day, which was the first day of the Boxing Day test.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favourite session was when they took 2 for 47 in the middle. Great test cricket.
Yeah.
But obviously 4-0 Australia, not ideal. Carrying on the trend of no away team winning since 2001. Do you think it's harder to win away?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty established by now that England are kings at home, aren't they?
Absolutely.
But mere paupers away.
I mean, I think it's a problem with the system as it is, that it's not set up to encourage first-class cricket at the moment.
I think that's 100%. And I think maybe teams have to be more flexible on their selections for the conditions as well.
I mean, if you take a look at Hampshire last season, they had Mason Crane, the second spinner for the England tour, and he played 8 games out of 14.
I guess that's a good grounding apparently now.
Well, I mean, you've got other spinners in the country who take bucketfuls of wickets on
Jack Leach, for
example. I mean, Dom Bess took more wickets than Mason. I don't want this to turn into a Mason Crane badge.
But even Adil Rashid, I suppose, who was lining up that.
Yeah, well,
previously.
I mean, part of the reason they picked Mason Crane was because he had experience in grade cricket last year, and then he went on and played for New South Wales for one game. But actually, Rashid has played 2-3 seasons in the Big Bash for Adelaide Strikers and someone else. It might have been South Australia before they rebranded all the teams. So he's obviously got experience bowling in Australian conditions and bowling leg spin. And also, considering the horror tour Moeen Ali had,
they needed someone who was kind of maybe a bit more experienced or a good deputy that they could have used.
And obviously Rashid's not entirely incapable with the bat. With 10 first-class hundreds. Might need to check that. But he'd certainly been a better replacement than Mason Crane.
I guess with Crane, I mean, it's exciting to watch because you can see there's a lot of potential there. But I think at the moment what it is potential, and we have to be careful that there's not too much excitement and he becomes another throwaway English spinner, as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, what has potential got you? 48 overs, 1 for 193.
And I mean, for Ashes, a kind of dead rubber, I suppose, it's good to maybe blood some young players.
Yeah, I mean, pressure's off to an extent, but you are still playing in front of 30,000 people in one of the marquee tests in the calendar, the New Year's test in Sydney. So there is still quite a lot of expectation to perform. Do you think that's where it went wrong with selection?
I think... Well, I mean, to be honest, I had similar thoughts about the Australian side when they selected their squad with their wicketkeeper selection, perhaps, and some of the other spots. And despite that, they performed pretty well. I think maybe Anderson and Broad, don't get me wrong, 2 of the best bowlers England have had and perhaps will ever have. But there has to be some flexibility in who they're going to select for the conditions. Maybe if they need to bring in a Liam Plunkett or a Mark Wood as an enforcer, as Stuart Broad, of course, used to be.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I would have taken Plunkett on tour. I mean, I know Woods had his injury problems, so he probably wasn't quite ready. But Plunkett was playing in the Bangladeshi Premier League while England were warming up for the Ashes.
High standard.
So he's obviously still fit and firing. I guess maybe they don't think he has enough variety for Test match cricket, but he's got more pace than, say, Tom Curran.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps was part of the problem. As a third seamer, Anderson and Broad are great, but they offer more similar things in good skill with the ball, moving it laterally, and Broad to an extent does offer a degree of pace. But perhaps you want your third pacer to be someone a bit more who can put the batsman on the back foot when the ball's not actually doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, so there's the bowlers who we've gone over, Crane and Curran. What were your thoughts on Craig Overton?
Craig Overton, I thought, I mean, he surprised me. I thought he did quite well.
Yeah.
Held the bat well, obviously, until.
I mean, bowlers aren't picked for their batting.
They aren't. But if they can do something, I suppose it's a bit of a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Steve Smith giving him a bit of a chat about his lack of pace helped him, actually. I did see he actually clocked up to about 92 miles an hour, I think.
Did he? That's quite impressive.
Which is impressive, yeah.
Smith said he was bowling at what? Mid-70s?
Yeah, and clearly that backfired.
I mean, I've got 2 words written down on my notepad here, heavily underlined, and they are Ben and Stokes.
Ben Stokes.
Is that where it went wrong for England?
I don't know. I think obviously Ben Stokes is a massive player for the team, and he helps address the balance a lot. They would have needed to make maybe 3 changes to the squad after Ben Stokes wasn't going to really correct it, perhaps.
And to be fair, I don't think they expected Moeen Ali to have such a horrific tour. And also Wokes didn't have the best of time. I mean, he was still coming back from an injury, but you would trust him as a sort of reliable all-rounder. Stokes, I mean, it'll get resolved soon, we hope, as fans, because it's much better watching cricket when he is playing.
Mm-hmm.
He just offers so much. I'll never forget that Cape Town innings in South Africa. It was probably one of the best mornings I've had listening to cricket, just hearing him smash Rabada repeatedly for 6. That was great. And obviously his spell against West Indies at Lords last year, where he swung it around corners.
Absolutely hooped the ball.
Hooped it further than James Anderson, which is some statement.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got Jake Ball. Thoughts on Jake Ball?
Again, I mean, Jake Ball was quite expensive, I suppose, when he was bowling. Not much to say.
No, I think they were pretty conflicted in their selections, because obviously Ball got injured in that first warm-up match, and then Overton played every single warm-up game, but then they picked Ball for the Gather Test because he was the right man for the conditions they saw, and then they never played him again. I mean, it's a bit harsh just picking someone for one test. If you think they're a specialist in Australian conditions, do you think he should have had another go?
I mean, I think so. I suppose England was so uncertain because of the people who had dropped out of the squad, and there's definitely a lot of experimenting, which was obvious for someone just viewing it from afar, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were hampered by injuries as well, because you had Toby Rowland-Jones, who had a good start to his career in the summer, and Stephen Finn also pulled up lame on tour, which was unfortunate, because I think Finn, as he's been out there twice before, would have been a much better option than many of the other replacements.
I do agree, and I think Finn, perhaps England's attitude to Finn is part of the problem as well, in that he can be expensive, but he will get you wickets. So it's a trade-off, really. What do you want? Do you want to bowl teams out, or do you want to allow them to score slowly?
Well, I think in the Ashes we did see that just letting them score slowly doesn't exactly work when the opposition is piling up 600 for not very many.
And I mean, when we consider Australia as well, they used to have great bowlers like Ryan Harris.
Ryan Harris, quality bowler.
And, he might play 2 or 3 tests in a series if he was lucky, because they'd accept that his body wasn't up to it by the end, playing back-to-back tests, and perhaps maybe we should have this attitude to some of our bowlers.
What, let them get injured?
Maybe people like Mark Wood, when they are fit, actually will need to be rested and rotated in for other bowlers.
So you're talking more about managing their workloads.
Managing their workloads and think of the longevity for them, but also winning matches in that time.
On a bit of a tangent, do you think managing workloads is why bowlers get injured so much? Because you hear stories of bowlers in the 50s and 60s saying the best way to get fit for bowling is to bowl. Whereas obviously if you're managing a workload, you tend to be doing much more gym work and less actual on the pitch action.
Perhaps, yeah. That's an interesting sort of spin on it. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it like that.
So batsmen as well were quite an issue for England.
Yeah.
I think in that they didn't really make many hundreds. I mean, I've written down all the selections which I thought were slightly contentious or they weren't really unsure of their places when it started. I've got 8 names down for England, 4 for Australia. The batsmen I've written down are Ballance, Vince and Milan. Obviously we didn't see Gary Ballance, so it was a great selection there.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever likely to feature.
I guess maybe they thought that they were performing so well that they didn't really need to call on him. Maybe that was sort of the look that they were giving it.
And then James Vince flattered to deceive. Like,
Yeah,
he looks quality,
yeah.
but looks will only get you so far. I mean, his innings at Brisbane, I thought before the tour that James Vince would have been a great selection for Australia because it's flat wickets, ball doesn't really do much outside of the first 10-15 overs, and then you just let your stroke makers settle in and score big. And he didn't really do that, kept nicking off.
Yeah. I guess maybe hats off to the Australian side as well. They kept their slips in place. They kept on attacking when he was there as well, because I mean they might have known that eventually was going to give a chance.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you do it every single innings, then you're always going to plug away on a sort of 4th or 5th stump line with 2 or 3 slips in place and just wait for the nick. Like, it is going to happen.
I guess it's one of those things where they're going for a solidarity in selection, but perhaps that's enforced by a lack of other options as well.
I was surprised to see he made the New Zealand squad for the coming tour. Would you have made a change there?
I think so. I think actually this was a good point where we could have drawn a line and then said, okay, we need to rebuild and think going forward. Perhaps actually for James Vince it would have been best for him to go back to his county side, think about some of the other things, the mental side of the game as well, and how to score big, and get someone in to fill that role. Obviously that leaves a big question there.
I mean, one of the big statistics touted about Vince is that his first division average, where the bowling is generally assumed to be of higher quality, is mid-30s, and his average in the second division is over 50. So he obviously thrives against lesser quality bowling.
Yeah.
And against Australia this year, he did face some quite high quality bowling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think England really fully prepared for the bowlers to be fit for the entire series, bar Stark at Melbourne. I mean, Cummins was so impressive, I thought.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, Australia, I hadn't really thought of them in the same way as maybe some of the South African bowling lineups, but I'd say they perhaps have the best pace trio.
Well,
cricket.
I mean, Staines just got injured, but South Africa still have Rabada, Philander and Morkel, who are pretty useful.
They are pretty useful. I mean, obviously, I'd say one of the advantages as well, Philander, he can move the ball laterally as well when he's not got an episode of food poisoning, of course. But
and we all know how that affects cricket players. It was quite prevalent in the Ashes because Cummins had it, and then Smith had it, and he passed on to Root.
Yeah.
So
maybe at the toss they need to concentrate a bit more on hand hygiene, I guess.
Dawid Malan I've got down here as someone who actually really impressed me over the tour. I mean, what do you think of him? I was really pleased when he got selected for the 2020 in June against South Africa. I thought that was good because he'd earned it. He'd scored big for the England Lions in their limited overs games. Bit of a dodgy start to the Test summer, but in Australia. I thought he really came good. I was very impressed.
And I mean, starting off your Test match career against the likes of West Indies and South Africa. Well, I mean, South Africa, it's not too easy, is it? But it seems like he's someone who applied himself every time he went out to bat, and even when it was actually particularly tough, kind of stick in there. It's quite impressive because I mean I'd had him earmarked as a T20 player really throughout, because he'd been so impressive for Middlesex throughout, I think. So
I think he was probably the person who was going to miss out if balance was going to come in. But I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah.
Because he looked very impressive by the end. And what you mentioned about him was his stickability and sort of willingness to guts it out, if you will. Which I think is the major difference between this tour and the 2013-14 tour. This doesn't feel as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously 2013-14 England were absolutely blown away by another quality seam attack with Mitchell Johnson, Ryan Harris and Peter Siddle.
Yeah. Great pace trio.
It's a good pace trio. And they just seem to sort of, well, I mean, the big point here is that each test this series went well into the fifth day, whereas I can't remember any from the 2013-14 series going that far.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Brisbane, but it just didn't seem like they were as complacent this series. Like, they were trying, they were just beaten by a much better side.
Well, I mean, they've repeatedly said that there's not much between the sides, though, haven't they? That
they have said that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
what do you make of that?
written down some key moments here. Got the collapse at Brisbane in the first innings there, where they went from 244 to 300 all out, and letting Australia get a first innings lead when they were well on top. Then there was that Smith-Cummins partnership, which allowed Australia to get like a 10-20 run lead. That was pretty key, because touring Australia is very difficult. I mean, they always start you off at the Gabba, which is the Gabbatoir, the fortress.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously very hard to win there, and what England did in 2010-11 when they won there was they managed to draw at Brisbane. So it was all square going into Adelaide, which day-night test this series, England had a major advantage there. And they lost at Brisbane and let Australia have the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
The other key moments I've got written down are the decision to bowl at Adelaide. General opinion was that they wasted the new ball, which bowled too short, didn't make the batsman play enough. Australia got to 440, and then England collapsed again, 200 all out. Only Wokes and Overton showing any stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought what was probably the worst captaincy decision I've ever seen in an Ashes series was Steve Smith not enforcing the follow-on under lights. England reduced Australia to 40 for 4, I think, with the night watchman in, so pretty easy wicket the following morning. I think Australia would have had that test wrapped up inside 4 days had they enforced the follow-on there, and then they'd have stood a good chance at a whitewash.
Do you think maybe Steve Smith was thinking a bit about that workload management of his bowlers?
Well, when you've got favourable conditions, I think all you should focus on is winning the test and then worry about what happens afterwards. I mean, they kept going on about how Australia's depth is great. I mean, we saw it's not great when Jackson Bird came in at Melbourne. And who was their 12th man for the whole series? Chad Sayers. Like, he's got a good domestic record, but I don't think Sheffield Shield cricket is that strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got 13, 14 quality players, but there's not much behind that really.
Well, I mean, Tim Payne, from what I heard, he actually wasn't even his this keeper for his side at the start of the last season.
No, it was Matthew Wade, that great Australian keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Payne was a pretty out there selection. I wouldn't have been surprised had they gone back to Peter Neville, who I quite like. Nothing against him, but the Payne selection worked out. I mean, we don't know what Neville would have done. I guess something probably pretty similar to Payne, considering that Payne came in at pretty favourable conditions each time he came out to bat. So I guess we'll never know, and well done to Tim Payne for taking his chance.
Yeah.
What else have I got here?
I guess one other thing as well. We talk about the England collapses. Obviously, it's easy for us to say here, but perhaps if we were number 9, 10, 11 coming in against Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, I mean, I'd rather be back in the changing room. I think
it's more okay. You can have collapses against that good a bowling, but why aren't the batsmen setting you up with higher totals before you collapse?
That's true.
England made 300s in the series, which is not really good enough. Australia made 9, most of them to Steve Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, Sean Marsh, Mitchell Marsh, they all played their part as well, of course.
Exactly, and they were good selections.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Marsh dropped, they were called to the side 9 times. So it's fair to say he's had his chances, but this one he's finally taken.
Do you think maybe the old Marsh name has helped them both along the way, or?
I mean, I think they're both good players in their own right,
Mm-hmm.
so I wouldn't say that nepotism has anything to do with it, really.
Yeah.
I think Sean Marsh might well go on to have a sort of Adam Voges, Mike Hussey career.
Kind of their twilight.
I think we'll see him in the 2019 Ashes, and I think he'll be doing well. I mean, Glamorgan have signed him next year as their overseas. Good signing. Another non-UK qualified player going to Glamorgan.
Mm-hmm.
Of their many Colpacks. But yeah, no, the Marshes, very good selections. I mean, even Mitch Marsh when he came in at Perth, that was deflating to say the least.
It was. There were a lot of Aussie ex-players comparing him to Andrew Flintoff, actually, which was interesting.
I don't think that's quite.
I mean,
I'm not sure
on the
Mitch Marsh's
batting front, perhaps.
Yeah, not sure his bowling is quite up to standard.
I'm sure it will get there. I heard a fact that before this series he was statistically the least successful number 6 batsman ever to play Test cricket.
Yeah.
And he's turned that around pretty well.
Yeah, we score 200s in 3 innings and you'll be doing alright.
Yeah.
I've got written down here similarities to the India tour last winter. Do you remember that much?
Not really. No.
So England drew the first test and then were just repeatedly beaten by Virat Kohli and various other Indian batsmen.
Mm-hmm.
It was a similar theme because England batsmen were getting in, but they weren't making that really big score which wins you tests. I mean, we saw in this series Steve Smith make a 200, Mitch Marsh make a 180, Usman Khawaja make 170 in Sydney, Sean Marsh 2 big hundreds down the order, and England, all they really had was Alistair Cook 244 on a pretty flat deck at Melbourne.
Still have to score them.
Still have to score them, yeah. And otherwise Dawid Malan 140 in Perth.
Johnny Bairstow chipping in there as well.
And then the India series the previous winter, you had Kohli scoring a double 100, Pujara got some hundreds, I think Vijay got 100, and of course Karen Nair 303, which was horrible to listen to, on Giant Yadav. those great Indian players who are now no longer around. I think Karen Nair is probably going to go down as the most anonymous triple century scorer in Test history.
Yeah, I think so. A little pub quiz fact, perhaps.
It could be coming up on our Super Over quiz later.
Yeah.
Moeen then, not the best of series for him.
No, I mean, I guess there was a lot of excitement as well because Moeen seemed to have matured in the past summer.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great summer. He took that hat-trick against South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
10 for at Lords, scored that brilliant 100 against West Indies in the ODI at Bristol. We won't talk about Bristol though, Stokes. But did you expect him to be this bad? I didn't expect him to do well.
I mean, I suppose when he developed a finger injury at some point between the test matches and they didn't expect him to be fit, I kind of thought, okay, well, it's not bowling too well at the moment. If it's on his spinning finger as well, from what they said, doesn't bode too well for the rest of the tour. Just perhaps he looked a bit short of confidence. Quick bowlers as well, who can put him on a back foot. Moeen doesn't really like the hook.
You say that, but he got out to Nathan Lyon 7 times.
Yeah, that is true. He did plant his foot quite a lot.
Yeah, I don't think Nathan Lyon's bouncing him out.
No, well, you never know. The way he was playing it could have happened.
It was funny because he played spin pretty well the previous winter in India. I mean, he scored 200s on that tour. I think he almost passed 1,000 runs last year. I think he's quite a mercurial all-rounder, or he goes off confidence quite a lot. I mean, you saw against South Africa, his bowling really sort of stood up after he'd had the pressure taken off him by number 1 spinner Liam Dawson.
But is he someone who prefers perhaps actually bowling in home conditions despite being a spinner?
I mean, that could be true. Australia is a very difficult place to tour if you are a spinner. I think Nathan Lyon is exceptional. He's probably the best off spinner in the world. Why are you questioning me for that?
I didn't question. I just gave an intrigued look because it's not something you'd often hear said. But he is someone who's good on all surfaces.
Because he's a containing bowler in sort of flat wickets, but he still offers that threat because he attacks the stumps. And you saw him; he was the leading wicket taker in the world this year. He took 10 for in Bangladesh, I think, and he bowled really well in India. I think he got an 8 for there. I think the argument for him being the best spinner in the world is pretty strong.
I suppose so, but I mean, maybe continuous displays over the last few years, someone like Arangana Haraf could be up there as well.
Well, I mean, I know because you're Sri Lankan, you've got quite
it's just
fond feelings towards Arangana.
Over the past 4 or 5 years, perhaps. But Nathan Lyon is very good.
I'd be interested to see Haraf's record in Australia. I mean, Murali averaged 70 odd there. So, I mean, most people do bowl better in home conditions because I think you've got the confidence that you know how to perform there.
I mean, Murali averaged 70, perhaps those no bowls as well.
They probably didn't help
a little bit with that.
But I mean, I don't think Ashwin averages much in Australia.
Well, of course, he's learning to bowl the old leg spin now these days, so
that might help him when they tour there later this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Because obviously wrist spinners do perform better in Australia, probably because of the harder wickets. It allows for more bounce as well as the greater amount of side spin that leggies generate.
Perhaps that top spin or that Zuta, that'll cause him a bit more trouble.
Or the flipper.
Or the flipper.
So I think we're probably about done on the Ashes. I mean, where do you feel that the 2019 series is going to go?
I can't. A lot of people are being very negative, but actually I think England will win it, and I think they will win it comfortably, 3-1. Because obviously there'll be rain in Manchester.
I think if they've got similar teams to what they've got now, I can't see the Australian team changing much other than Bancroft. I mean, you can't expect Cameron Bancroft to be around again in 2 years.
He might have a rebirth
he might
at that
do.
time. Hasib Hamid might be opening batting with Cook.
Yeah, I would expect Cook to still be around. Anderson as well. I suspect that'll be Anderson's swan song.
Oh, very, very poignant. Swan.
Not so sure about Broad. I feel that he's struggling quite a lot at the moment. I mean, I was saying to you earlier today that I'd rather have Toby Rowland-Jones in my starting lineup than Stuart Broad at the moment, because I just think he offers much more than Broad. I mean, they're now a similar quality of batsman, so you're not losing anything there. And Rowland-Jones seems to just have that knack of taking wickets at the moment, which Broad doesn't.
Yeah.
But if this Australian attack stays together, I mean, Hazelwood in English conditions is going to be very good, and I'd love to see Cummins bowl over here. Mitchell Starc, I'm never too sure on.
I mean, Starc, he does receive a lot of criticism, bowling too short, bowling too full, a bit like our old friend Mitchell Johnson.
He does bowl wicket-taking balls though, which is why they've got him in the side. I think he'd be even better in a 5-man attack. So maybe Mitchell Marsh needs to get in the nets and start working on his skills.
But I guess, someone like Stephen Finn, if they if his action hadn't been tinkered with so much. Maybe we need someone who's a bit rawer, who can offer something a bit different. Not necessarily an economy under 3, but to be taking wickets.
That's an interesting point. Again, so that's going back to a bit what you said earlier about workload management. Do you think bowlers are overcoached nowadays?
I think there is something in that. I mean, you only have to look at the subcontinent and look at some of the spinners as well. The actions are anything but orthodox.
I mean, some of those spinners, possibly their actions aren't wholly legal.
I mean, that's a whole another debate.
Mohammed Hafiz, maybe.
Yes, Hafiz is, but he has been suspended from bowling several times.
Several times, but he keeps coming back.
He does keep on coming back with a slightly remodelled action. But I think it shows you don't have to do things by the textbook. That's certain, and I think definitely from personal experience, coaches feel they have a responsibility to their pupils, if you will, that they've got to prevent them from getting injured, doing everything by the book, because that sort of, in terms of biomechanics, is what should be done.
But if your body is used to a way you bowl for, say, 6 or 7 years before you really hit sort of major coaching, do you not think it's already sort of learnt to cope with that? Like, I mean, there is an argument for letting natural talent come through, because in the subcontinent you've got people like Malinga, you've got Jasprit Bumrah, who I'm looking forward to seeing bowl in England next year.
Yeah.
I mean, you've just seen him bowl in the South Africa Test.
Yeah.
His ball to Duplessis, did you see that?
Yeah, I think he cut him in half.
Yeah, there's a bit of a doom seed.
Yeah, I mean, Bumrah is someone who's been so impressive in a shorter formats of the game, and I mean, from a neutral point of view, I was kind of hoping he'd get selected just to see how he'd go, because he's someone with quite a unique action. Yeah. And you know, good for him. He started well.
I mean, you always get more excited about seeing people who look slightly different. Whereas if you rock up to a Test match and see, I don't know, 4 Chris Woakes bowl.
Yeah, Chris Woakes was the name that came to mind actually. There,
yeah, he's got such a classical, clinical action.
He's technically he's very good at. You watch him and you think you're watching a robot sometimes, even when he's batting as well.
You can tell he's being coached.
You can. And he's very clean cut.
He's got lovely hair.
Yeah, he does.
So I'm really looking forward to the Ashes in 2019 over here, because I think it's going to be a pretty good contest. Be interested to see who the Australian opener is. I do think they'll go back to Renshaw. Mm-hmm. Maybe partly because obviously he was born in England.
Knows the conditions.
Knows the conditions. But so many Australians play county cricket over here now that I don't think they'll be too hampered. And if they have a similar side to what they've got now, then it will be certainly a very interesting series. Obviously, recently, Bayliss has said that he is going to remain until the 2019 Ashes and then quit after that. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think the main problem perhaps hasn't been England's home form. It has been their form away. And I think that's how he'll be judged from now. How England do in their tours. I believe they're going to Sri Lanka next winter.
Yep.
And to see how they adjust to those conditions. I'll be watching team selections closely, because I know there's a lot of talk about a lack of depth in the county system. But there are people who appear to be, I mean, perhaps they're injured at poor times, but Jamie Porter, he was one who perhaps we could have seen in this Ashes.
I think they're more looking at Porter as a replacement for Anderson, for when Jimmy finally goes. So I don't think Porter was that close to England's selection. It would have been nice to see how he got on the Lions tour, but obviously he got injured.
Yeah.
I mean, how I feel about Bayliss is that I don't feel that the Test match side has really progressed. I think that's partly down to him openly admitting that he's not that involved with county cricket. Like, he doesn't know the players. He'd never seen Dawid Malan bat before he'd come into the side. So I think that England should maybe go down a sort of split coaching role, like how they did with Andy Flower and Ashley Giles a couple of years ago. The problem was then that the sides were quite alike. They had similar players. I think Cook was still captain of the ODI team then. Great choice there. So Giles is
Cook. He can play what's in front of him.
he is actually going to be in the North v South series because of his performances for Essex in one-day cricket this year.
Yeah,
So he can still play it,
yeah.
but I'm not sure at international level. But the problem with that was that Giles wasn't getting his first choice team each time. Whereas I think now that the limited overs team and the test team are quite separate, there's more of an argument for having split coaches.
Yeah.
So I would move Bayliss over to the limited overs stuff, as that's England have massively progressed in that since he's come on board. And I would keep Paul Farbrace as the test coach for two reasons. One, in that when he was the sort of solo coach after they'd just sacked Peter Moores and they had that test series against New Zealand, England played some brilliant cricket then, helped by Ben Stokes of course, so it'll be nice when he comes back. And also because I was looking through Wisden 2003 the other day, and I saw that he was coach of England under-19 back then, so he was obviously very familiar with the England setup. And the players who are probably coming through now. So I think there's quite a good argument for keeping Farbrace on with the test side, but personally I would move Bayliss over to his more preferred limited overs format.
I guess there has been an attitude I think in the past where your best 11 players are your best 11 players and they would play in all three formats of the game. And I think other countries have realised slightly quicker than England that it's, sharing a captaincy out between the disciplines is the way to go, perhaps, also to reduce the workload. And it's good that England are starting to jump on this. Their white ball cricket has improved a lot in the last 5 years.
England are sort of the pioneers of splitting the two teams. I don't think many other teams have done it as much as England have over the last couple of years. I mean, who have you got who play both formats? You've got Root, you've got Bairstow now, he's come back in as an opener, so that's a different role. And
Wokes,
and Moeen. And that's it. So I think there's quite a lot of diversity there.
I mean, what I thought for a while as well, when Broad was the T20 captain, and it seemed to be this linear route of you're a T20 captain now, you're third in command in a way, and you're stepping your way up and you're getting your captaincy experience in a different format of the game, but ultimately trying to groom you for something slightly bigger. Although that's another issue as well.
Okay, so I thought we'd move on from the Ashes now and go on to something slightly more interactive and slightly more fun. I thought we could have a go, as we've just had the end of 2017, in making some 11s of the year.
Yeah.
So I've got three ideas. We could do the Test 11, an ODI 11, and 2020 11. So which do you want to start with?
We've been talking a lot about Test cricket. Maybe we should start with T20 actually.
T20. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So the sort of stipulations for this is it's not an international 11, so it's not based on performances in the international 2020 game. It's going to be based on performances in 2020 leagues around the world, as there are so many of them and so few internationals. So this is including things like the IPL, Big Bash, Bangladeshi Premier League, the Ram Slam, NatWest T20 Blast, CPL, and the Shpageeza Cricket League in Afghanistan.
Oh, didn't know they had a tournament there actually.
Well, there's a reason I'm mentioning Afghanistan. So, do you want to start, Dan?
So, kind of taking a brief, I obviously most of my players are actually internationals, being very shallow as I am.
I think all of mine have played international cricket as well, but that's not their sort of where they've made a name for themselves.
Of course.
Let's start with the openers.
Yeah, with the openers. So I had Luke Ronchi opening a batting.
Luke Ronchi.
Luke Ronchi can get you off to a flyer. And I thought someone who maybe will anchor the innings in Chris Gale could bat alongside him.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Gale not known for being an anchor.
An anchor in his 6 off 20 balls kind of beginnings, and then his 100 off 40s, you know. That's the
I mean,
pacing.
he makes up for it a bit. Why'd you go for Luke Ronchi?
Luke Ronchi, I thought his strike rate this year was over 160 actually.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
He's just scored a 100, I think, in the New Zealand 2020 tournament, the Super Smash, I think it's called. So many of them now, it's hard to keep track of what they're actually called.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hear my openers?
Yeah.
So I've gone for David Warner,
Okay.
based on his IPL form. He scored loads of runs for Sunrisers Hyderabad this year. And then someone who's new to opening the batting in 2020 cricket. I've gone for Sunil Narine.
Oh, of course, yeah. Very unconventional, but he in the IPL he was he's very good.
Not just the IPL, he's done it in the Caribbean Premier League
Yeah.
and in the Bangladeshi one. He's been scoring loads of runs this year, which I think has come as a shock to quite a few people.
I think it's come at a cost to his bowling as well, though he actually hasn't done that badly.
No, he's done pretty well. I mean,
Yeah. By
obviously
his
that's,
standards,
that's a
so-
bonus, having an all-rounder opening the batsman.
That's very true.
I mean, I think we can class Narine as an all-rounder now.
I think we can class Luke Ronchi as an all-round actually with his keeping.
He's not second highest wicket taker in the world, though, is he?
No, but I mean he'll make up for it with his runs at the top, I suppose.
All right. Who have you got as your middle order? 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and 5. So this is a bit contentious, as obviously in T20 there's a lot of good openers in the game. So actually at 3 I've got a West Indian great to be Evan Lewis.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a great player, Evan Lewis.
Number 4, Colin Monroe. He's really come into his own in a shorter format, I believe. Scored quite a few hundreds now in T20 International.
Oh, he scored 3 now,
Yeah.
which makes him the first to get to that landmark.
Yeah, very impressive. And number 5, I feel you can't not have him in your T20 side. AB de Villiers can just score 360 degrees. I don't think anyone else, maybe Kohli can hit 350, but not 360.
Okay, you say you can't not have him in your side, but
Yeah.
I have not got him in my
Oh, well,
side.
I think you've not picked it right there.
No, I think your 3 to 5 is actually much stronger than the ones I've gone for.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
So, based on his form for Glamorgan this summer, I've gone for Colin Ingram at 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Obviously, he bowls some part-time leggies as well,
Yeah.
so it's another spin option
Okay.
that I've got up my sleeve.
Planning on playing the subcontinent, obviously, with this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that Ingram could be my anchor as opposed to your Chris Gale role. Ingram can sort of stabilise after losing an early wicket.
Which you will with Sunil Narine, of course.
Yeah. So he's a backup really.
Yeah.
And then he'll score big at the end. Very good in run chases.
Mhm.
Usually knock off a total with ease. And then I've got Joss Butler at 4.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I mean I've been watching him recently. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like some of the shots he plays are extraordinary.
Will he be your keeper as well?
He'll be my keeper.
Yeah.
And then at 5 I've got David Miller,
Oh, okay. Yeah, David Miller. Yeah.
the finisher.
He is.
Yeah. I mean he scores 100 against Bangladesh this year, which was pretty good. I think it was off like 30 or so balls, so very fast.
Yeah.
He's just that sort of explosive finisher you need in a T20 side. I think he'll do well in my team.
Yeah.
So all rounders. Who have you got as your all rounders? Unless you've got more batsmen.
I mean, define all rounders to me. I suppose is a 6 to 8 that sort of.
We'll do 6 and 7, and then I think 8 downwards you can just consider as bowlers.
Okay. I mean, yeah, perhaps. Okay. Well, anyway, number 6, I have actually got David Miller as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so a bit lower for my Miller.
Yeah.
He'll be truly finishing innings, perhaps not even getting to bat. But
Well,
actually, he's a very good fielder as
Would
well.
you say that's a waste if he doesn't get to bat?
I don't know. I mean, the good thing is Evan Lewis, Monroe, they all go out hard. They might be out in 2 overs.
So he
hopefully.
probably will get in.
He probably will, yeah.
Bat alongside Gale.
Yeah. So actually playing more as a specialist keeper in this side, Joss Butler at 7.
Okay, so Luke Ronchi isn't actually an all-rounder.
Well, Luke Ronchi is on some days, depends on how Butler's feeling, because he'll obviously be a captain as well.
Mm-hmm.
But with Joss Butler...
So Luke Ronchi or Butler?
Butler. Sorry.
Oh, he's not had much captaincy experience.
Well, this is his chance. That's what I feel. In the sort of England ladder of getting him to Test captaincy, ultimately, this would be a natural stepping stone.
Despite the fact he's not playing Test cricket.
Despite the fact he is mainly playing T20s at the moment, yeah. But that's the way that's the way the modern player will have to climb there now.
I mean, again, Butler at 7, that seems like a bit of a waste.
Perhaps, but T20, what you're doing is you're giving Gale more license, really. Go out, if he gets out first ball, forget about it. It doesn't matter. Josh Butler could even pinch hit at 3. Evan Lewis, hold you back, come in at 4.
Or 7.
Or 7.
What strikes me about your top 7 so far is that you've not got many all-rounders there.
I beg to differ.
Are you considering Chris Gale and AB de Villiers as fully fledged T20 all-rounders?
I'd say Chris Gale is surprisingly difficult to get away.
Yeah.
I think that can't be denied.
There's a good YouTube video of him defending, I think, 4 off the last over against England in an ODI in 2000. Recommend it. It's good watching.
Okay.
England really choke.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see. Maybe watch that in a little tea time break. De Villiers, he has bowled in the past.
Yeah, I mean he has bowled.
He has.
I think all of these players have bowled, but maybe at junior cricket level.
Junior cricket. I mean, De Villiers has bowled in Test matches, of course, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
Has he got a Test match wicket?
I think he's got 2.
Yeah, I think that's right.
He got 2 for 49 against Bangladesh.
Yeah, and Bangladesh are a good side.
This was when, like 2006, when Bangladesh were not a good
We're
side.
still a good side, and they'd humbled Australia in that ODI the previous year. So who have you got, Sam, as your all-rounders?
I mean, you'll laugh at this one, but I've got Samit Patel at 6.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Nottinghamshire heavyweight of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll add some lusty blows towards the end of an innings.
Yeah.
And his left arm spin is actually pretty underrated in the shorter formats of the game. I think he's good at sort of playing that holding role. He's been opening the bowling for Wellington as well recently.
In New Zealand.
Yeah,
Right.
so he's been playing around the world,
Yeah.
getting experience in all conditions.
So of course his first class season, he scored a few double hundreds, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he got 2 back to back.
Yeah.
So he's obviously a good option as well, coming in at 6.
Yeah.
And then at
Wasted,
7.
some would say.
Well, I mean, with the batsman I've got above him, bar Sunil Narine, I think he's in his right place.
Okay.
At 7, I've got Dwayne Bravo.
Dwayne Bravo.
Very good T20 bowler. I was watching him earlier today. I don't know how he bowls his slow balls. Like, they come out so slowly. It's like he's been watching Jenny Gunn.
Do you think actually when people play Dwayne Bravo they should set up for the slow ball? Like they
Absolutely.
used to Udana.
Yeah. I mean, I think he bowls 5 out of 6 slow balls most times. So you might as well prepare for it to be very, very slow. And then if it's faster, just clip it off your legs.
What do you make of his batting though now?
I mean, he's definitely focused on his bowling a lot more and his singing career.
Important thing.
Because I think as someone who batted down the order anyway, he was finding that he didn't really get to face too many balls in a shorter game. Obviously he was restricted to that because of the West Indies board policy against their mercenary players. So I think he's rightly just focused on his bowling now, which is good. But I mean, he's still got the ability.
Yeah, of course he does.
So he can definitely lend a hand if we find ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, what about your bowling options?
My bowling options, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between our sides. And number 8 is actually Sunil Narine.
Oh, nice.
Again, he is someone who could come in at the top of the order, but the thing is, when you have Ronke, Gale, Lewis, Munro, Narine at 8 is fine. If there's
So
a
you've actually got 5 opening batsmen in your team.
Yes.
So 6, because Butler's been opening recently as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the way T20 is now, isn't it? The openers
You're
tend
either
to
an
get
opener
more
or a
runs.
bowler.
Yeah. So I'd have Narine at 8. Obviously a very handy bowler, as we've discussed. Rashid Khan is actually
Nice.
number 9.
Delighted.
A great player.
Yeah, really rate Rashid Khan.
Yeah.
He's so good.
10 and 11, slightly more contentious. Players who are less known for their international exploits. But I've got AJ Ty at 10.
Nice.
And Kesrick Williams at
Oh,
11.
why have you gone for Kesrick Williams?
Well, of course, his older notebook exploits with Chadwick Walton won an admirer in me. But also, I feel he's done well.
It's interesting you sided with Kesrick Williams on that side against Chadwick.
I mean, I saw them both as jokers by the end. So.
I mean, if anyone hasn't seen that video, I'd recommend watching it because it's genuinely very funny.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So it's Kesrick Williams bowling to Chadwick Walton in the Caribbean Premier League this year. Worth a watch.
Yeah, I don't think we should even discuss it because
No
it
spoilers.
speaks for itself.
Do you want to hear my goals?
Yeah.
So I've got Mohamed Nabi
Oh, yeah,
at number
nice.
8. He's also my captain.
Oh, that's
He can bat up the order as well if he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he broke Ireland earlier this year in a T20.
To be honest, on that side, he might need to bat up the order. I'd say.
What, in my team?
Yeah.
Who would he replace? Would you bat him above Samit?
Above Samit, perhaps above Narayan as well, actually, but.
I mean, most people could bat above Sunil Narayan. It's
Even
just he's
so.
quite good at pitching
He
in
is
the power
very,
play.
it's very impressive.
And then I've got Rashid Khan again.
Oh, that's an Afghanistani 8-9.
Yeah,
That's nice.
I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't pick Rashid Khan based on this year's performances. He's played the most games of anyone in the world, and he's taken probably about 100 wickets across all forms. It's a phenomenal year, and he's averaging something like 14.
It's amazing.
He's so hard to play. I think because he bowls almost from behind his head, and his trajectory is quite flat, and it skids on as well because he bowls it quite quickly. It's very difficult to pick him. He's just a quality find for Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it'll stand them in really good stead when they come to play Test match cricket eventually. Really
very
exciting.
exciting, yeah.
And then I've also got AJ Ty at number 10.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was being a bit outlandish there.
No, well, I was delighted you picked him.
Yeah, because I mean, part of the reason I picked him was his incredible knuckleballs. Actually, he has an amazing slow ball Yorker, which has deceived many an IPL batsman.
And obviously he's been taking hat tricks for fun recently.
Oh.
It's very, very. His strike rate's very good. And then rounding off my team, I've got Jasprit Bumrah.
Oh yeah, very good player.
I don't think you can really miss out in 2020 cricket. It's very good. Fires in that Yorker at the death. So I think I've got a pretty good side here.
I think perhaps I would concede that your side is more balanced, but my side might be the first one ever to make 300. That's for sure.
Well, I think any side with Gale in could potentially make 300 because he's still a phenomenal batsman. All right.
Should we move on?
Yeah. Let's find a different 11 to do. So, do you want to do Test or ODI now?
I don't mind. Your choice.
I think we should move on to tests because we've just done a limited overs one.
Yeah.
So let's move to the longest.
So this is like the filling, and that was the bread.
Possibly the purest form of cricket.
Oh, okay. Contentious.
So this is based on 2017 performances. So I've gone for Dean Elgar and David Warner opening batting.
That's very interesting. I snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much to argue with there.
I mean, I had Dean Elgar facing first as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
pretty
Warner
similar.
performed better at number 2.
Yeah. Interesting stat that.
Yeah. I mean, the only other person you could have considered, well, maybe 2, you could have gone for Cook, but he scored half his runs in 2 innings.
Against West Indies and Australia.
On a very flat deck.
Yep.
And also Deemuth Karunaratne of Sri Lanka, who's had a very good year. First to pass 1,000 runs this year, but sort of tapered off towards the end against India.
Yeah, I think most of the Sri Lankan side did as well in that series tapered off.
Sri Lanka have had an awful year.
Yeah.
The less said, the better, I think.
Yeah,
on
I
that.
think, have they won a ODI in 2017?
They won 5 actually.
Oh, okay. That's
2
5 more
against
than I thought.
Zimbabwe,
Okay.
but they lost that series 3-2. They drew 1-1 against South Africa, 1-1 in the Champions Trophy, and managed to get one over against India in the last series of the year. But their overall record in ODIs this year was 1-5, lost 23.
Yeah.
So not the great.
I think maybe next year there should be a few ODIs for them
Yeah.
and more focus on Test cricket.
3-5 no whitewashes there.
Yeah,
Yeah, not good.
not too great.
So 3, 4, and 5. I've got Cheteshwar Pujara at 3. Can't look beyond Steve Smith at 4. I mean, he's just phenomenal. I don't know how you get him out. Like, it's impossible to bowl that in the Ashes, because what can you do?
Yeah.
Bowl for run-outs, maybe?
Yeah, difficult to say, isn't it? Bring on Joe Root, just hope.
I mean,
pray.
you can see why people think he does less well when the ball moves laterally, because of his big step across, but when it's flat, there's no one better.
I think just bring on a debutant to bowl at him. Maybe rotate the team.
Make sure they don't bowl a no ball as well.
Yeah, that would help.
And then at 5, I've gone for the other batsman of the year in Virat Kohli. Scoring, I think he's got 5 or 6 double hundreds now, which is incredible. They're all in the last 2 years. Most on pitches at home.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how he goes this year when he's touring South Africa, England and Australia.
Particularly tough places to go and face.
Well, I think this year will just decide how this Indian team is going to be judged, because they've played a lot of their cricket at home in the last few years, and they probably are the best side in the world at the moment. But it's hard to judge that when you don't play away. I mean, they've just lost a test in South Africa, but not by much. I thought their bowlers performed very well, and that sort of doesn't bode too well for England in the home summer coming up when they've got India to face, because their seamers look quite good.
Mohammed Shami included in that sentiment, yeah.
I mean, Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowled well last year.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that series.
Be interesting to see Jasprit Bumrah, obviously a very good shorter format bowler. See how he goes, whether he can get the ball to swing.
Has he made your Test 11?
He hasn't actually, based on his one test appearance.
Who's in your middle order?
So my 3, 4 and 5, I've gone for Kane Williamson at 3.
Great player.
And he would be, he'd be the captain of the side.
Yeah.
Steve Smith at 4 as well. Can't really look past him. I have actually overlooked Virat Kohli.
Partly you won't be popular in India then.
Well, that's okay with me. Really, just kind of considering. I think it's a make or break year for him. Everyone knows, especially in the shorter formats as well, that he can bat and he can bat.
Phenomenal.
He can bat long. His last tour of England wasn't so successful.
No.
So someone I've gone for is a slightly younger player who performed very well in India for New Zealand. It's Tom Latham.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's a good selection. I like that.
One for the future, really, but someone who could keep on developing, I think.
Obviously, he plays the long form for New Zealand as an opener. Why have you gone for him at 5?
I mean, that's where he's been having some success in the ODI format of the game, and I see no reason why. I see he'd be more flexible in that position. Although Elgar's pretty settled at the top, and he's averaging in the 50s this year. And you wouldn't want to unsettle Warner, so Latham would have to slot in.
Why wouldn't you want to unsettle him then?
Unsettle Warner?
Yeah.
He might give me a little hit.
Yeah. Bit volatile.
But obviously a genius in his own right. Just a volatile genius.
Talking of volatile players, I've actually got Ben Stokes at 6.
Have you?
Yeah.
Someone who really went off the radar.
He still had a good year in Test cricket of the few he played.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can look beyond Stokes as an all-rounder, unless you haven't gone with an all-rounder.
I looked past Ben Stokes actually. I went for Shakib Al Hasan.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
He's someone that I've always respected.
Yeah.
Within the game, he's reached some important milestones this year.
High score by Bangladeshi this year, 217.
Yeah. And you just need a left arm off spinner in your team, don't you? That's what you need.
I suspect you might have another coming up later.
Maybe not actually. I don't, or do I?
Have you got Tom Latham keeping wicket, or have you gone?
No, I've gone for someone else. I've gone for Quentin de Kock at number 7. Someone who can really counter attack, take it to the other team, a la Gilchrist.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, more Gilchrist. I
more
think.
Gilchrist, I suppose.
So I've gone for someone who can also counter-attack at 7.
Mhm.
Mine's slightly more of a left field shout. He's someone who's really impressed me in the matches I've followed this year, and I've gone for Niroshan Dickwella.
Yeah, yeah.
Good year. Like, considering the year Sri Lanka have had, he's performed very well.
Yeah.
I just like the way he plays the game.
He's someone I assume could bat in the top 8 as well, given how inconsistent they are with
Yeah.
their
Yeah, I mean,
selection.
he's like Moeen Ali, he can bat any position.
I mean, Dilruwan Pereira might be opening, and then
Where he's
Nicola
scored
Clever.
more runs than Matthews this year, hasn't he?
I think 10 fewer. Yeah.
Well,
Basically,
when
yeah,
your number 8's outscoring your number 4,
yeah, they both averaged about 30.
yeah.
Anyway, the tail's wagging.
Who's in your tail?
So from 8 to 11, I mean, I wouldn't really call this much of a tail actually.
Or your bowling attack, we should
At my
say,
bowling
really.
attack. So I've actually gone for a great leg spinner of the game.
Steve Smith.
No, Ravi Chandran Ashwin. Yeah, you heard that right. He's been learning to bowl leg spin as we mentioned before. So I've got him in at 8, and I think he's averaged about 40 or so with a bat for the past couple of years.
Fair enough, yeah.
I mean, I did actually want to bat him at 6. That was half my plan, but then Shakib came along. Number
He's
9.
obviously better.
KG Rabada,
Nice, great.
great bowler.
I love watching him bowl. It's absolute quality.
Very quick. Jimmy Anderson at 10. So going a bit of variety there as well, out and out pace and skill.
Is that your new ball pair?
Yeah, it would have to be as Nathan Lyon's actually my number 11.
Oh, so you've got 3 spinners.
I've got 3 spinners, 2 pacers,
2 off spinners and a slat.
and so I mean there's variety in this team. No left arm pace bowler.
So why didn't you go for Rangan Hirath then?
I mean, Hirath's been ripping it for a couple of seasons now, but actually Nathan Lyon, I think you can't really underestimate the achievement he's had in being so prolific in all conditions. Herath, I think he's on his way out slowly.
I think he's been on his way out for the last 5 years.
I
He
think
hasn't
he's
got
kept
any
on
knees
going.
left.
He's just kept on going, yeah. And also Lyon, solid number 11.
So you're actually batting James Anderson above Nathan Lyon.
Based on the fact Nathan Lyon would enjoy batting at 11.
Yeah, I mean, I think that about Nathan Lyon, because I think he's a much better batsman than Josh Hazlewood. But I think Lyon's one of those people who actually, they've got a position and they like to bat there.
I mean, I wouldn't say Nathan Lyon is an amazing batsman by any
No,
stretch.
I think he's better than Josh Hazlewood.
I saw some of the shots he's dismissed to, and they were unconventional, to say the least, in the Ashes series. But yeah, he has got a good game for a night watchman.
He's the best number 11 in the world,
I
would
mean,
say.
James Anderson does have a big Test 50.
Yeah, but Nathan Lyon's better.
Yeah. 81 says otherwise.
Do you not consider Shannon Gabriel as the best number 11 in the world?
Has he got a Test 100?
No.
Then no.
So for my bowling attack, I've got Anderson and Rabada opening the bowling.
Nice.
And then I've got my first change bouncer specialist, Neil Wagner.
I was adamant. I was sure that you'd have him in it.
I'm really keen on Neil Wagner.
Yeah.
He's a really competitive bowler. Obviously, it helped that he played for Essex this year, as they're the county I follow. He's just a solid performer who will bowl those hard yards for you.
I mean, in that sort of enforcer role, I was thinking about KG Rabada, who's my out and out pace man, but there was a thought of Morny Morkel as well over Neil Wagner. I mean, what would you say to that?
I think the left arm angle just offers you a bit more there, and Wagner's slightly better with the bat.
Yeah.
Plus, whenever he plays against England, the Barmy Army will always play March of the Valkyries when he comes on to bowl.
Which is very
Obviously, named after his relative, Richard Wagner.
the good Rangers footballer, Wagner Love, I believe.
Ah,
Maybe.
We're going tangential.
Yes. Anyway, who's your spinner?
My spinner is Nathan Lyon.
Okay.
As I said earlier, he's the best off spinner in the world.
I agree with that. I actually went a step further and I picked a 12 man for my test side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have Roston Chase That's my 12th man.
Oh, nice. Another spinner.
Another spinner. Yeah, someone who will definitely add a lot more with the bat.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But someone I feel who's grafted really hard this year. He's had to play on, he's had to lead a struggling side, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I've got West Indies stats here. They actually won 3 tests this year, lost 6 and drew 1. Their wins coming against England and Pakistan and Zimbabwe. Obviously, playing in England is difficult.
Yeah.
And New Zealand, they've just lost 2-0 there, so that's difficult conditions there as well. I think he was their best batsman against Pakistan. I mean, they shouldn't have lost that series. I don't know if you followed that, but basically it was Misbah and Yunus's final series. Where Misbah scored back-to-back 99s.
Yeah.
Classic Misbah. And I think the last test, Ross and Chase had batted all day. Pakistan had West Indies 9 down.
It's obviously batting with Shannon Gabriel.
He was batting with Shannon Gabriel.
Yeah. It's flooding back to me.
It's the last ball Shannon Gabriel has to face. Yazir Shah's on, decent leg spinner.
One more over after this delivery to go, I believe.
1 over after the ball to go.
Yeah.
And obviously Chase is going to face, just block out. West Indies are going to have a draw.
What Chase does, yeah.
Shannon Gabriel decides to have a huge mow at a sort of flighted ball from Yazir Shah and gets out. They brought the whole field in. For some reason he wants to hit over the top to help him try and salvage a draw. And he lost the test for West Indies and the series.
There was a lot of outrage in the cricketing community about that moment. A lot of people really questioned what he was thinking.
It's a terrible decision.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
But I guess that's what makes cricket so enjoyable to watch.
What, the brainless batting of the number 11?
Yeah.
See, I always think your number 10 should be a worse batsman.
Why?
Partly as a number 11 myself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I've got decent defensive technique.
But no run scoring abilities.
But no run scoring abilities. But the number 11 should be there to hold an end while the batsman at the other end scores runs, or you block out for a draw.
But I mean,
obviously Shannon's incapable of doing that.
Yeah. But that was clear that day.
Right, do you want to go on to our final 11?
So this would be the ODI 11.
Yeah.
So here's one I'd made a little earlier. So opening and batting, I've got a couple of subcontinent players. Rohit Sharma.
Mm-hmm.
Can't overlook him. It's double hundreds, which just kind of rain down from the skies.
I don't know how he does it.
Tammy Iqbal as well. I've actually selected.
Left-right combo there.
Yeah, I've done that actually in all of my teams, I believe. Yeah, something you might not have noticed, but it will really unsettle you. Oh no, actually my test 11 was Elgar and Warner.
Dean Elgar.
Yeah. Still, that would unsettle anyone. The aggression and defensiveness. But who are your openers?
I've gone for Rohit Sharma as well.
Yeah.
Another good year. I don't know how he keeps scoring hundreds, but when he gets in, he scores a lot.
Yeah.
And I've actually gone for Johnny Bairstow as my other opener.
Oh, that's nice.
I think I'm really pleased in him opening the batting in one-day cricket. I think he's well suited to it. So I'm looking forward to see what he does in this current series against Australia that's going to start tomorrow night, I think.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Yeah, so I guess talking about the middle order now.
Mm-hmm.
3, 4, 5.
Me first or you?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I've got Virat Kohli at 3. I mean, we've said before you can't not pick him in a limited over side. I've gone for Babar Azam at 4 and Joe Root at 5. I mean, Babar's had a very good first full year in international cricket. He scored 400s in limited overs, which is pretty solid. I think he was, again, joint fastest to 1,000 runs. Good start. Looking forward to see how he continues. And then Root, very good as a limited overs batsman, partly because I don't think he worries as much about his conversion rate.
Yeah.
You can just bat and score runs freely there, which suits him.
Yeah, and I've actually put. So I've put Ross Taylor in at 3.
Nice. I think Ross Taylor is probably the most underrated batsman in world cricket.
I'd agree with that. I mean, every time I watch him, especially at the start of his innings, I see this clunky looking batsman, and I'm thinking, how will he ever get from first gear to fifth? And he does it. He does it pretty often. Obviously Virat Kohli, number 4, can't overlook him. Maybe he would have added something with his bowling back in the day, but he's left that behind, that's for sure. I think conditions seem to affect players less in a one-day game as well. And whenever in a chase, he's going to hit at least 70, really.
Yeah.
It's pretty
And he's going to be knocked out, and you're going to win.
You're going to win. Then I had Joe Root at 5 as well.
Same reasons.
Yeah.
6, I've got Ben Stokes.
Oh, okay.
How about you?
I've got Faf du Plessis, actually.
Oh, right, another batsman. Unless you're thinking about the days when he used to bowl leg spin for Lancashire.
I mean, those were some great days. I mean, Faf du Plessis is someone I always feel is also actually quite underrated.
Yeah.
As a player, and I think
he's a very good captain.
Yeah, and that's what he'd be doing in the side.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's someone that I'd look at and be surprised by his numbers really over the last year. I mean, he's been averaging in the 50s, I believe, in the ODI format.
All right, who's your wicketkeeper?
Johnny Bairstow as well.
At 7?
At 7, yeah.
Oh.
Just to try and accommodate everyone. I mean, you won't see Tamim batting at 7, that's for
So
sure.
why would you go Bairstow there and not Butler?
I mean, Bairstow has had a more prolonged run, trying to rotate the players a bit in these teams.
Arguably, though, Butler's probably better down the order than Bairstow. I
Yeah.
think Bairstow's better when he's got time to bat.
Might be something in that. Obviously, your numbers say one thing, which is in Bairstow's favour with his.
He did average over 100 this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really look past that.
So obviously my keeper's been used up. So I've got at 7 Mitchell Santner.
Oh, that's an interesting selection.
I looked at him and I thought he's actually had quite a decent year. He's also someone who's very good at keeping the runs down.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went at 4.6 this year. So it's always useful to have that one containing bowler in your 11 who you can just rely on to get through 10 overs.
He is someone with his action that I'm never sure how he's going to get a wicket.
He's got a weird front arm. It doesn't really happen.
Yeah, it's like when I bowl left-handed actually.
Yeah, well, you're not left-handed.
That's half the reason, I suppose.
And then my bowling attack, the rest of it is filled up by Liam Plunkett, who I think's had a great year for England.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And then Hassan Ali, another really good year for Pakistan. Probably the reason why they won the Champions Trophy. Rashid Khan, stick him in any limited overs team just because he's so difficult to play. And then Trent Bolt,
Trent
new
Bolt.
ball bowler.
Yeah.
Gets swing, competitive, like him a lot.
So my kind of 8 to 11, I've gone for Adil Rashid.
Oh, nice.
At 8 actually. Interesting selection. Bearing in mind I've actually gone for Rashid Khan in my side as well. So
two leggies.
back
Well,
to back
that
leggies.
is the current trend.
Yeah, you know, one of them just bowling googlies from one end and the other bowling flippers.
I can't think of a team in the world at the moment who doesn't have a leggy in their ODI side. Maybe Sri Lanka, because they're so far behind.
I guess
the game at the
Lakshan
moment.
Sandakan, he's
Yeah.
Chinaman. So I'd have Hassan Ali in at 9. And my remaining slot would be for Jasprit Bumrah, who
Yeah, nice.
He's
Good,
been-
good limited overs bowler.
12th man actually. I'd put Liam Plunkett down as well. He's had a very good year.
Doesn't make you feel 11.
No, I mean he could hit some big runs at the end. Some would say he should be batting ahead of Rashid if he was playing, because of his dynamism with the 6 hitting.
Yeah.
But I beg to differ, 12th man.
Well, all right. So which side do you think will beat each other? I think I'm going to beat
In
you in
what?
2020 cricket,
Mm-hmm.
but Test cricket. Who's your keeper again?
Quentin de Kock.
Yeah, you might have the edge on me. I think you've got slightly more batting depth than me there.
And I think Test match format, if you had KG Rabada and Anderson,
Mind you, I have got Smith and Kohli in my Test side, so
I've got Smith and Williamson.
yeah, Kohli's had a slightly better year.
He's had a slightly better year, but has he had a better year in New Zealand or England-like conditions?
That
Would be
is true.
another factor. I suppose we'll actually know the answer to that next year.
We will indeed. So we'll say you take the edge on the Test team. I think Ashwin probably trumps Wagner if we're
Yeah.
playing in Asia.
Yeah.
And then ODIs. Well, I've got more bowling depth. You've only got 4 bowlers actually,
No, you forget I've got Kohli and Joe Root
and Faf du Plessis.
and Faf du Plessis. I always think actually the fifth bowler is someone who can be made up of the remaining batsmen. Because,
Okay, so you're going the England 2013 route there.
yeah, but the thing is that this team will actually score you 350 rather than
So it
regulars
won't matter.
250. Yeah, exactly. That's fair.
Well, I don't know. We'll call it a tie on the ODI team.
We can call it a tie. Yeah.
So that's 1-1
Okay.
after 3.
Yeah. Well done.
Lovely. Right. Well, now we've decided who the best 11s of 2017 are. Let's finish things off with a super over quiz. Do you want to give it a go at explaining the rules for this, Dan?
Yeah. So what we've done is we've written each other a few questions.
Well, 10 questions.
10 questions, which represent bowls to face, and we'll be picking out 5 actually, but there'll be 6 in the over, and there'll be one sort of reverse swinging Yorker, if you will, or out of this world googly that we'll have to face at the end of the over, I suspect.
Yeah.
And the aim will be to score as many runs as possible.
So each question is valued differently for the number of runs it's worth, depending on difficulty. So easy questions are worth 1, harder questions are worth the boundaries 4 and 6.
Yeah.
All right. So I've
Because,
got,
have we done we did the toss beforehand? Didn't
we haven't done the toss. Do you want to do the toss?
Yeah.
Have you got a coin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You call it.
Tails.
It's heads.
Ah.
So I guess I will bowl first.
You bowl first. Okay. So I'm facing. So.
Yeah.
So
So pick 5 deliveries.
So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go.
Okay. Any preference?
Any order.
Okay. So first up, we'll have a little leg cutter, I believe. So this is for a boundary. Who is the player to have played the most Test matches without ever having scored a Test match 50?
Courtney Walsh.
That is correct. 4 runs.
Good. I guess I should be keeping score.
Yeah, we maybe need a third person on next one. So next one is a pie bowled at half tracker length, probably by Moeen this series.
Just a single.
Yeah, just a single. So as we all know, after Bangladeshi Premier League, Chris Gale has accrued 20 T20 hundreds. However, who is the batsman who scored the most ducks in his T20 international career?
T20 international career.
Yes.
And this is worth a single.
This is worth 6.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Most ducks in international.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's no. I'm going to say Martin Guptill.
Incorrect. It's
Doc
actually Tilakarani Dilshan.
Oh, I was on the right lines, opener.
You were. You just weren't quite correct.
Okay.
So next one is a vicious in-dipper Chinese cut to third man, potentially for free.
Okay.
Who is the highest wicket-taking left-handed bowler in Test cricket?
Well, it is either Rangana Herath or Wazim Akram. So I'm going to say Wazim Akram, because I don't think Herath's got there yet.
Correct.
Good.
I believe they are separated by 1 wicket, maybe
That's
2 at the moment.
3 runs, was it?
That's 3 runs. So this is your 4th delivery. This is a juicy googly bowled so that it does not actually spin and is a full toss.
I'm guessing you're bowling leg spin.
Bowling leg spin.
Yeah.
This question's about England's favourite Mason. Which county did Mason Crane first represent?
Hampshire.
Incorrect.
What?
He represented Sussex under 14 side.
I'm not pleased with that.
You selected it. That's a dot. Could have been 2.
Well, I think you
You jumped into the trap.
snuck a cheap delivery down Lakeside past the umpire.
That's how Mason bowls. So this is a pie. This is a pie, punishable for 2 at most. Before the exploit of the Marsh brothers, who were the last pair of Test brothers to score hundreds in the same innings of a Test?
Right, well, we were talking about this the other day.
We were.
So it's either the Marshall brothers or I'm going to say it's Steve and Mark Waugh in the 2001 Ashes series.
And when and where?
The 2001 Ashes series.
And where?
At the Oval.
Correct.
Nice.
You have achieved your overthrow as well.
Oh, good.
So that is 2 and 1 for the overthrow.
Right, so now we've got the Yorker, so I can either be out or hit this for 6, yeah?
Yeah. There are 2 parts to this question. The first is to have a dot, isn't it?
Yeah.
The second one is the 6. So this is a interesting question. Who was the first player? No, we'll start this way around actually. Who is the most recent player in Test match cricket to have represented 2 different countries?
In Test cricket.
Most recent, yes.
Well, hopefully soon to be Ed Joyce, but that's not it.
No.
There's Zimbabwean South African Tracos. John Tracos? Is that correct?
Incorrect.
Is it Kepler Vessels?
It was Kepler Vessels. To give you a chance to redeem yourself, but no real potential of hitting a 6. Who was the first?
The first was Billy Midwinter.
Correct.
Yeah, great. So I could have hit that for 6 if I'd gone with Kepler Vessels.
I didn't really ever think you'd get Billy Midwinter. I was going to give you a clue if that was a festive question.
Okay,
but it wasn't necessary.
In the Billy Midwinter.
Yeah, something like that.
So I scored 10 off that. Your turn. Do you want to pick your
I'll have
5 questions?
2 from the top and a couple in the bottom, please.
One more.
Okay.
Any order?
Any order.
Any order. Right. So your first one is for 3. Who scored 221 at Lords versus West Indies in 2004? I'd hope you'd know this because you said it was the first series you followed.
Against the West Indies in 2004. Okay. I'm not confident, and this could be wrong. So I know there are a few good players around that point.
Mhm.
You know, your Mark Butchers were there, your Mark Prakashas. But I think it was Mark Butcher.
No.
Well, then I was wrong.
You were wrong.
Was it Graham Ford?
No, it was no one of that international quality.
Robert Key.
It was Robert Key.
Oh gosh, it was Robert Key. Okay.
Okay, your next one is for a boundary.
Mhm.
Mithali Raj became the highest run maker in women's ODIs, passing Charlotte Edwards' record. How many runs did Charlotte Edwards make? And this is going to be within 250.
In her whole
In her
international career.
In her ODI career.
5,800.
Ah, nice. So that's within 250, so it's 5,992.
Okay. Boundary.
Good thing I changed that, because
Yeah.
I'd originally put within 100.
Yeah.
And then I decided to be more generous to you.
Yeah, that's good. In a festive spirit.
Okay, this one's for a single. Who was player of the match in this year's Champions Trophy final? Single is the easiest.
So India and Pakistan. Hassan Ali.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No!
I didn't watch a game.
It was Fakhar Zaman
Oh, fuck his
for his 100.
I had no real idea. I just saw a lot of people celebrating in Leicester, and a lot of people very angry as well.
Yes, there would be in Leicester.
Yeah.
How did you feel as a Sri Lankan?
I felt like I could watch this carnage and just be amused, actually.
Alright, next question is for a boundary, for 4. Which England player made a return to international cricket in September 2017 after a 6-year absence?
To international cricket.
To international cricket.
Okay, I will know this. This is for a single.
For 4.
For 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. To international cricket. So you haven't specified that it's returning for England itself. September.
You're thinking along the right lines.
Okay, so I'm just going to say some names of people who've gone abroad and played as well.
Okay.
Won't be Geraint Jones, because he played for Papua New Guinea more recently than
Yeah.
that. Someone like an Amjad Khan, who just went and played for Denmark.
He is actually playing for Denmark, but it's not him, because I think he's been playing for Denmark for a bit.
Um,
Oh, nice thinking. I wasn't expecting you to go down that route.
yeah, well, I assume I've gone down the wrong route then.
It's not Joe.
Joe. Billy? James Treadwell.
No,
Uh,
not
who
James Treadwell. It's Paul Collingwood, who
played for England against Australia.
played
Scotland.
for the World 11 in Pakistan in
Oh.
that T20 series, which has international status.
Oh, that's terrible. Fine.
It's for a boundary,
It is for a boundary.
so suitably hard.
Yeah, fair enough. I just would have never considered that
Okay,
in my
so you're
thought.
on 4 after 4 balls,
Okay,
and a reminder you need more than 10 to win.
I see.
Okay, so this one is for 3. Sorry, 2, and then there's a bonus over 3 you could get. So, who is the only player to carry his bat in a T20 international?
So, I mean, could be someone like Alistair Cook, just hits 20 off the innings and just calls it there. But I suspect it's someone a bit more mainstream. I can imagine Martin Guptill having done it. But I want to say someone West Indian. But I'm going to say Colin Munro.
Oh, well, maybe you should have stuck with your instincts because they are West Indian.
Is it Evan Lewis or
No,
Gale?
Chris Gale.
Oh, Boyle.
So you're not going to get your bonus there, I'm afraid.
No.
But you can have it anyway, but you won't score for it.
Yeah.
Who bowled a triple wicket maiden in that game? So it was in the 2009 World T20 in England.
Darren Sammy.
Damn, that was Angelo Matthews. Took a triple wicket maiden in the first over.
Oh, yeah.
It was the semi-final, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they won.
Which they won, and then you went to
on
see
to lose in the final
next game.
when Dilshan got a duck. I'm pretty sure
Yeah, bowled by Amir.
one of his 10.
Yeah. Okay. So this is your Yorker question.
Yeah.
You need to hit this for 6 to
Okay.
tie.
I suspect I won't.
I suspect you won't because I've been pretty horrible to you. But you could at least guess the dot ball.
Okay.
How many different domestic T20 sides has Chris Jordan played for? So this is any team that competes in a domestic 2020 tournament.
So he's played, and does it? Because he's played for Sussex.
Yeah, but it's not including England or a representative England 11.
Oh, fine. Okay, so no sort of national. He's played in the Caribbean Premier League. I'm pretty sure he's played in the Big Bash. Played in the IPL. I think he's probably played in Bangladeshi Premier League. I'm gonna say 7.
Oh,
Is it 8?
It's 8.
Oh, terrible.
So you're out of that. And the bonus for 6 would be, what are they?
Comilla. No, what? So
No.
Sussex.
Yeah.
Rising Pune. Super
no.
Giants. Oh, Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Sydney Thunder.
No, I mean, it might be that you either know it or you don't.
Melbourne Stars.
Do you want me to just list them?
Yes.
Yeah. So Surrey and Sussex are the two he's played for in England. In the IPL, he's played for Royal Challengers Bangalore and Sunrisers Hyderabad, as you said. In the Big Bash, it's just Adelaide Strikers. In the PSL, Peshawar Zalmi.
Nice.
In the BPL, Chisholm Vikings, and in the Super Smash, Northern Districts.
In New Zealand.
There we go. So you totaled 4.
Nice.
from that,
It's a
which-
solid over.
Yeah, but doesn't compare to my 10.
No.
So I think that's the first time I've ever outscored anyone,
That's true.
because I'm not renowned for my strike rate.
166 though, not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that was very fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, hopefully I'll be back next month with a different guest because Dan is going to Tanzania.
Yeah, I am.
What are you going to be doing in Tanzania, Dan?
I'm spending my elective there. I'm doing some work, medical work there, so it should be interesting and hopefully seeing a bit of the country.
Do you fancy phoning in a report on Tanzanian cricket?
I can see if I can do that. If it was a satellite phone or something, I might need the radio show to cover that cost, of course. But we'll see.
I'll fund anything to find out about cricket around the world.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Or you could do what Ashley Giles and Heather Knight did and play cricket on top of Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, that's
It'd be quite a nice thing to do. I
could
think.
be. Might take a hacky sack up there and find a branch on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Lovely.
I have a square cut off the top of the mountain.
6 now, probably.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, and hopefully I'll see you next month.